Freddie,
What is up, guys? Welcome to episode 38, Metal Drama and Trades Everywhere of the Sports Hour Plus with Miller and Watson. I am back from the Olympics. I have nothing crazy going on. Hopefully, I am set into a routine for the season. I do have a crap ton of weddings this year, so we'll probably be recording on Thursdays quite a bit. Kind of back to more maybe normal schedule. We'll have to talk about that off air, but almost every single Saturday from next week until mid-October, we have a wedding. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I just found out about this.
Yeah. I emailed work and they were like, wow, that's a lot of weddings. And I was like, it is a lot of weddings. You're right. It is a lot of weddings. So we are, we're chugging along. I am happy to be done with the Olympics. Working the Olympics was amazing, obviously, but it's a lot of hours, a lot of manpower, and it's nice to have it. This is my first day off since August 22nd. And I'm here with you guys, and I couldn't be happier. So
I told y'all she'd be back.
It just
and a zombie, but she'd be back.
Yeah, you're like, Mr. Wen, she'll be back though. Yeah, so super stoked to be back. Make sure to give us a follow on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Me at M_India_Miller and Kylan at Kylan W. Watson. For all the takes as the NFL starts to pick up, as trades are happening, give us a follow.
As Morgan
I've been super inactive on Twitter. I need to get back on. Like I said, I've been kind of trying to do as much of a screens detox as I can after sitting in front of them for 12 hours a day.
Look, here's a clap. Here's a clap for you because 12 hours of what were you doing? 6 a.m. to 6 p. I mean, y'all.
Yes, it ended up being 7 to 4 or 7 to 5 a lot. So it ended up being a lot of 10-hour days, which wasn't hard, Right. But I made some good money, and that's kind of what matters. Made up the money that I lost going on my honeymoon. So that's kind of what matters.
And look, we thank you so much. I really enjoyed the Olympics from this side instead of looking at it.
Yeah, I've heard great things. I've heard that people, they were very enjoyable for people, and that's what matters. So I thoroughly enjoyed watching them as I was working. And maybe in Milan I'll be there, be in country. So that's the goal. And
LA?
LA is going to be real weird because that's LA, there's a possibility I could be there. Milan is the one that's weird because it's the same week as it's like overlaps the Super Bowl. So it's our Super Bowl. So most likely I'll be out in San Francisco.
Okay. That's spoiler alert right there, y'all, for the 4th and the 5th year, whatever of this podcast that we're doing.
Yeah.
Morgan's back. Like I said, y'all, I told y'all she'd be back. Again, might be a zombie, but she'd be back. So she's back. She's back. And right as she comes back, Morgan comes back. For those of you that don't know, her favorite sport is football. And right as she comes back, all this football. She missed it last week, but we got just as much this week.
Yeah.
So here we go. Matthew Judon gets traded to the Atlanta Falcons.
I think this is a good move for everyone. I think Judon was sick and tired of being a Patriot. I think he did not love the culture there. I think he is a lot more of he's a character, and I think sometimes characters don't do great in Foxborough in New England. I really, really, really like Judon. I think that he brings some great energy. He brings some great leadership. He cares deeply about the game. And so I think I think a change of scenery will help him on a team that probably needs some leadership, needs some older players to kind of guide them a little bit. But I think it's a good move for all of the parties involved.
Yeah, but to me, I think it's a great move for the Falcons. It makes me think I have no idea what the Patriots are doing because usually when they trade a big name, they have somebody waiting in the wings. But outside of Christian Gonzalez, I'm struggling to figure out what stars they have anymore on the defensive side. And I'm of the mindset that this is a win now for the Falcons, lose now for the Patriots, because I think at this point, you know, for New England Patriots fans, I know some of y'all don't want to hear this, but y'all are in rebuild process mode. Like it's over for y'all. like it's the dynasty days are over. Just be happy with a contender. I'm gonna say I think this says more about the Patriots than the Falcons. I think it says that the Patriots are in rebuild mode and the Falcons, like I said, are in win now mode. And I think I'm not a Patriots fan, and I know Morgan isn't either. We both represent two teams that have beaten the Patriots in recent Super Bowls. So
yeah, I'm looking at the Patriots draft right now, and they drafted. Oh my gosh, this site is crashing on me. They drafted obviously Drake May, and they did a wide receiver, offensive tackle, a guard, wide receiver, a cornerback, another quarterback, and a tight end.
No defensive end. See what I mean? Other than Christian Gonzalez, there's nothing on that defense.
I mean, unless I don't really know much about the cornerback kid, unless they are thinking they're gonna slide him out. I don't know. I don't even know if you do that with a cornerback to a.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he'd be the first cornerback to DN I've ever known, but
yeah, I know. Maybe I'm like trying to be nice to him. I'm like trying to give him something. I'm like reading this. I'm like,
it doesn't. To me, it doesn't. Yeah, like I said, I think it says more about the Patriots and the Falcons. I think that they're resolving themselves to their fate of sucking maybe for the next two. I mean, now granted, for Patriots fans, Drake May could be the second coming of Tommy Touchdown Tom Brady, but I doubt. Morgan's rolling her eyes. I doubt it too. But I mean, UNC quarterbacks don't really translate. But we gotta give him some credit. He might be the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
So that's why I said Drake May could be the second coming of Tom.
No, I don't know. The Patriots are always one of those teams that I feel like have something up their sleeve, but with Belichick gone, I don't feel that as much.
Right.
Not even saying that Belichick was amazing the last recent years, but I just felt like he had such a football brain that even when they made moves that I was like, I don't know if it's a great move. I was like, there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. I don't necessarily know if I feel that way now, but I think it's kind of a wait and see thing. But I think when we look at the Falcons, this was a big get for them. I think Matthew Judon is still a good player. And again, I me, I talk all the time about the locker room. And I truly and honestly believe that the locker room is just as important as the talent of the team that you put out there. And I think you have to have that fully created locker room. And unless I am crazy blanking right now, Matthew Judon will be kind of their vet on defense, correct?
I believe so. I mean, they did just get Justin Simmons too. So
okay, that's right. Because I'm like, I know, they have Cousins on offense, so that they have that, and I think Cousins is one of the all-time great locker room guys. From what I hear, he just seems like an amazing teammate. But I think you need to have that person on defense as well, and he's different. He's a different kind of present. I was gonna say he's not calming. I would not clarify Matthew Judon is calming. He's spicy. He's fiery. And I think he's gonna boost up his players. And again, when players leave New England, you really never know what's going to happen, especially somebody like Matthew Judon, who does have a personality already on the Patriots. I'm intrigued to see what kind of personality shows now that he's not on the Patriots with Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the mindset that this says the Falcons are contenders. I mean, as much as you can be in the NFC South. I think that's a big get, having Simmons and Judon now. It makes the Falcons defense a little bit more of a threat. But I think again, it all comes down to Kirk Cousins, and I think when you have to rely on Kirk Cousins, your stuff does this. Now he does stay healthy, but I mean, it's not, as Morgan knows, the spreads about Kirk Cousins at 1 o'clock in comparison to what he looks like at 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock. It's two different Kirk Cousins. So the Falcons might want to invest in getting a lot of Sunday afternoon games, and trying to see if they can get Monday afternoon football instead of Monday night football. I'm of the mindset that the Falcons are good, but I think that they have the wrong quarterback. I think that their best chance is sitting on the bench, and I think that they need to, get Kirk Cousins, sit him down as fast as they can if they actually want to win something. And I think it got a lot easier for them, for a lot of teams now with our next topic coming up. But yeah, I think the Falcons are contenders. I think that Bijan Robinson. I think blanking on the tight end's name right now to Florida. I could think Pitts. There we go. Kyle Pitts. Finally has a quarterback. So if you're a Bijan Robinson, a Kyle Pitts, a Drake London, who's the other receiver? And the other receiver, a Drake London, a Kyle Pitts, and a Bijan Robinson future fantasy owner, you should be really happy because the one thing we know about Kirk Cousins is he loves to feed his tight ends. So if you are a Kyle Pitts fantasy football owner, you should be really, really happy. Now, if you're a Justin Jefferson fantasy football owner, you might not be happy. Moving on to the next topic. J.J. McCarthy, according to Adam Schefter, and according to, our own Twitter and X sources, mainly being him, he had the surgery yesterday, or was it Wednesday? Sometime in the last 2 days on his ACL and MCL, and he'll be out for the season. Obviously, I think when I heard about this, having gone through it with Carson Wentz and seeing it with Donovan McNabb before him, I wasn't around for Randall Cunningham, but Randall Cunningham before that as well. When you hear about quarterbacks and ACL and MCL tears or sprains, generally that that quarterback is not playing. So that season. So the Vikings were hopeful, but this was kind of the obvious thing. And my reaction to this is, we can get. I'll preview this for the next topic, for our next topic when we talk about the preseason. But I think this says to me that the Vikings should have invested in a backup quarterback, and that their current backup quarterback is not him. So I know Justin Jefferson is looking around like, dang, I don't have JJ. Jordan Addison went down. Now that was an ankle. We don't know. Is there any update on that? Is that season ending or not? Looked like it was, so we don't know. But he got carted off. But that doesn't. Those of you that are superstitious about this, just because you get carted off, it doesn't always mean that you're done for the season. Generally, most people think that. But as Morgan knows, because she's covered some training camps, it doesn't always mean that it's 50-50, but it doesn't always mean that your person is done. Right. So I'm of the mindset that the Vikings need to call the Eagles and all these other teams that are very, very rich in backup quarterbacks and see if they can get a Kenny Pickett or somebody who can stabilize that offense and get Justin Jefferson the freaking ball. Because
I know there were a lot of people that were upset that JJ didn't get the quick fix surgery. There's the long form, the one. I think he was smart to do the longer one. I mean, he's young. He hasn't even played a snap in the NFL yet. Why risk coming back and not being your full self? Give yourself a year. Train, get stronger, watch on the sidelines and learn how fast the NFL game goes compared to college. I think it's smart. I think it's no different than a rookie quarterback sitting the first year behind a starter and just watching, I don't think it's necessarily the end of the world. I know that the Vikings fans feel like right now it's the end of the world because you're stuck with Sam Darnold, and no one wants to be stuck with Sam Darnold, if we're being honest. And again, USC. I'm always rooting for people. I have a big soft spot in my heart for Jets quarterbacks that go other places, not even being a Jets fan, but I just truly feel like they got the short end of the stick, and they didn't really fully get to see their potential because for whatever the Jets do to quarterbacks is just fucking, sorry, excuse my language, horrible thing. None of them seem to ever be able to pan out. So I have faith that he, has been off of the Jets for a while, and this is the first time that he's actually at a stable organization. He kind of bounced around. He was in Carolina, which we all know is crazily unstable. He just never kind of was anywhere where he could make a name for himself. They'll give him the shot for sure. I truly think they're going to give him the shot. He'll be the starter week 1, but I think that he has a very short leash. And I think that he has been told that, and it's a lot of pressure on him. But this is his last chance. This is it for him as a quarterback in the NFL. This might even be it for him as like a backup quarterback in the NFL. Like he's got to go out there, and when the pressure is the highest, he's got to perform. Mm-hmm. I have hope that he can do that. I think he is a fine quarterback. I think he, actually reminds me quite a bit of Kirk Cousins in that way, where I think he has these moments of brilliance and then these moments where you're like, have you ever played quarterback before in your life? So the Vikings know that very well. I think, again, the Vikings are such a solidly run organization that it helps. It helps to have Justin Jefferson as your wide receiver as well. He can catch anything. He can make you look like a superstar. So all of these things, I think Darnold will start. Backup, I don't know what they will do. I mean, you're going to hear Colin Kaepernick's name thrown out there, I'm sure. Somehow he's still being talked about.
Nick Foles on line 1. Even
yeah,
though Nick Foles on
RG3 just got fired, so maybe he's gonna get a call. I don't know.
RG3, Nick Foles. Let's see, Rex Grossman. What's he doing these days? Like Colin Kaepernick. I mean,
No, but I actually the one that you say that I don't think is a bad name is Kenny Pickett. They have 3 solid quarterbacks in Pittsburgh.
Philly.
And
Philly.
Philly. Sorry. That's what I meant. They have 3 solid quarterbacks in Philly. And I think that they're going to have to cut one. And wouldn't you think it would be Kenny Pickett that they'll cut?
Honestly, I think that they're more likely to cut if they do cut anybody, which they might not do because they usually keep 3 quarterbacks. I think it would be Tanner just because I think that they're less likely to think that what Howie is always a strategy, right? If I cut Pittsburgh really traded us to get him to get Kenny up out of there. So if I was Howie, I would probably cut Tanner because I'm more likely to be able to keep Tanner than I am if I cut Kenny Pickett because
that does make sense because somebody would sign him for sure.
Yeah. So, if you are cutting anybody, it would be Tanner, even though Tanner's
the other name, and this is why I had Pittsburgh in my brain, also because Kenny Pickett did play there, but was Justin Fields.
Okay.
If they are like, we're sticking with Russell. I mean, that's hard because they definitely want a backup, but I feel like Justin Fields is still starting quarterback caliber. So that would be a name I would keep an eye out for. But I don't know. I'm intrigued to see what they do. But I would be shocked if Sam Darnold is not starting week 1.
Yeah. I would also be shocked, but I think that I think the Vikings need to do their due diligence. I think that you'll probably end up with something like we're talking about a Kenny Pickett, and they'll probably end up with like Carson Wentz at the Vikings. So you never know. But to our other thing, NFL preseason thoughts so far. I mean, you're seeing the value of a backup quarterback. I mean, people laughed at the Eagles before they won the Super Bowl. Like, why are you valuing backup quarterbacks? But you see now that I'm very for as far as the Eagles. You're seeing the value of backup quarterbacks, right? Like Tanner is looking great. Looking like he could actually be better than Kenny Pickett. I don't actually think that, but I mean, so far what we're seeing in 2 preseason games, he looks like the better backup option than a Kenny Pickett. But I honestly, knowing how the Eagles think, I think it would take like a miracle for him to they're going to keep him. He'll be on the roster, but I think he'll get a lot of DMPs unless something happens to Kenny Pickett or something happens to Jalen Hurts. But I think that Tanner McKee looks really, really good. And I think, he's showing that what can happen when you invest in a 5th, 6th round pick. That Tanner's really good, and I think he will make some people happy if they make Howie Roseman happy by trying to trade for him. I think that the backup quarterback is a backup quarterback. I think that I don't really like the new kickoff rules. If I'm being honest, I think it's a correction.
I don't think I've watched enough to understand it yet, to be honest with you. I've watched it a little bit, and I'm like, this is weird, but I'm like, maybe I just, need to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't think I need to see any more of it because I think it's a correction to a problem that the NFL broke in the first place. I don't really like the fact. I mean, here's what I think has happened, right? I think the NFL has tried to concussion proof the game, and while trying to concussion proof the game, they broke in the kickoff. And also, I think that what also is happening is you have a lot of really good kickers who can kick the ball, and so there's always going to be touchbacks. Unless you're moving back the touchdown, there's always going to be touchbacks. And so I think that it's a problem that doesn't need to be fixed. But what I do think, what I did like, even though it worked against the Eagles, against the Patriots, I like the new using the computer replay to going the tennis and the volleyball route of using the replay to figure out if it's a first down or not, if it's 4th and inches. I like that because I feel like it saves more time to bring it out the people who they pay too much money to measure the thing. Even though as an old school NFL fan, I love the chain gang, but I'm also tired of the chain gang. I feel like the same way it's like as millennials, Morgan and I, when we go to self-checkout, like I like people, but sometimes I just like the convenience. And so I really like the convenience of I don't have to see these people waste my time bringing out the chain gang and a commercial break. Like I just want to get to the end to the action. So I like the AI. The AI, it's a first down thing. I know some people probably like Mike Florio and them don't, but I like it. so I don't really care for the chain gang. I think that's a video game concept. There's somebody who's playing Madden in college football right now, as Morgan knows. I am of the mindset that anything that gets to the action faster needs to happen. So I'm with that. I love the computer innovation there. Hate the new kickoff rule just because I don't think it's going to do anything. It's not the NFL that Morgan and I grew up on, where the kickoff was actually exciting, and I'm going to make a lot of Giants fans unhappy. The punt returns were exciting. I can just leave it at that because y'all know what I'm talking about. The punt returns were exciting. Everything was exciting, but it's not that NFL anymore. So, kickers and punters, kickers more than punters, but kickers are just too good. And I just don't think the kickoff will ever be the same. But that's my thoughts on preseason so far. I know Morgan's been in the Olympics, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of I haven't followed as much as what's happening on the field as what's kind of been happening off, looking at the Brandon Ayuk situation, Ja'Marr Chase situation. It seems like there's a lot of discourse with some of these high-level players that still isn't figured out, and the season is rapidly approaching. And I mean, obviously that's the lawyers and the agents of the players being smart and saying, no, we're going to hold out. As you guys get more and more and more desperate. We've seen it work. We've seen it not work. I mean, I don't think that the Bengals are not going to get a deal done with Ja'Marr Chase. I think that would be
stupid,
crazy. And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Joe Burrow is in their office every single morning begging them to get a deal done. Specifically because they haven't gotten a lot of time to play together in the last couple of years. There's been lots of injuries, and obviously those who know each other really well played together in college, and but that doesn't mean that you just automatically have a connection forever and you can't get better and you can't work on stuff. So I'm sure that Burrow is begging to get that deal done, and then there's always weird stuff with the Jets.
Hassan Reddick.
I don't really understand. And I actually, for once, don't necessarily know if the Jets are in the wrong in this situation. You probably have more of an in-depth, I'm sure you guys talked about it last week. But
we did not. I mean, it's been a while, but like I said that. I mean, we said it before you went on your break, right? You don't trade. The Eagles told them, "Hey, you better re-sign him. That's why we're trading him to you," and they didn't do it. So, I mean, you can say what you want to say, but Hassan Reddick's been very very clear that he wants a new deal. The Eagles didn't want to give it to him, so they traded him to a team with way more cap space. And
so, but that's my confusion. Is it that they won't get, I thought that they were trying to negotiate a deal with him and he was like, no, I want to be traded again. And they were like, no, we just traded for you. I thought that was the issue. That's my confusion.
From what I understand, like while we weren't paying, I mean, we were paying attention to it, but weren't talking about it. This was when, like, after you went on the Olympics break, there was a story about like how they had been calling, like playing phone tag with him, but he was in Japan. You remember that we talked about this because he was in the samurai uniform before the Olympics. And they were like, we can't find him. They kept asking his agent where he was. His agent said, like, well, call him, right? Like, you have his cell phone number, call him. And he wasn't taking their calls. And then that's when he put that Instagram that you and I talked about where he was like, they say they can't find me or whatever he put up there. And he was in Japan. And I'm like, you're the freaking Jets. Like, come on. Like, that's why I say, like, you can't be making these big trades, unless without getting. This is why the NBA has it right, because before they make trades, they make sure that they have the person signed on the dotted line. So like, I'm just on the mindset that I think that with the Jets, it's the Jets. With the 49ers and Ayuk, it's the 49ers wanting to squeeze Pittsburgh for all they got. And again, I don't know where Buffalo is on this. Like, Brandon Ayuk is available, and the Bills are nowhere to be found.
I know. Well, I just read something that it looks like the Steelers are going to get a deal done with him.
Yep.
Which, I mean, great for the Steelers, honestly. But, yeah.
Yeah, but moving
all right, so that's kind of the NFL preseason thoughts. I'm sure we'll have more after this week too, and hopefully some more of the starters play a little bit, and we can kind of see these new QB connections and stuff like that. So this next thing is the NCAA wants to limit NIL collectives in a House versus NCAA settlement. The NCAA is doing everything in their power to not let these kids make money. And I just don't understand. And I mean, that's not true. I'm going to back up. I understand. The NCAA is losing their power by the day, right? The NCAA's biggest power used to be making sure that all these kids were amateurs and none of them were making money from that. That was their biggest thing that they did. Now that is not an issue anymore, they are nitpicking and trying to find everything, blah, 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 blah. In my brain, I don't know why the NCAA doesn't take on like gambling as their big issue. If they need something to like control. But now they're trying to control every little bit of how this works. Now, the only benefit I will say, and this is not even a benefit, this is not a go you to the NCAA, is trying to get equal NIL to smaller schools, blah, 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 because, NIL is supposed to be evening out the playing field, which I do think in a way it is. I do think that there are schools that are getting big name people that wouldn't have been able to get those big name people because of NIL.
Shout out to James Madison University.
Yeah, JMU. I mean, even for what it's worth, I think like a school like UConn that's making so much money on basketball is able to kind of shuffle that back into their football program and use that big NIL collective to like help give contracts to the football and try and up their football. I think it's a good thing overall. So I like kind of understand them wanting to like limit per school, kind of. And that's kind of my only thing that I can think that like maybe that is their, I want to say that they're trying to be nice, but I just know that they're not. And they're power hungry and they want control. If you break it down, you're like, you can try and see the other side of it, playing devil's advocate or whatever. Maybe the NIL wants to try and help these smaller schools. That's not what they want to do. They want power. They want to be hungry and they want to be in control over something. So I mean, I don't think they're going to win this. Do you? I don't really know the legs that they have to stand on. I could be wrong. I haven't done a supreme amount of research. I've read a few articles on it in the last couple of days, but like,
I mean, it's still very much fluid. Like you said, this is kind of the NCAA. I've said it before, wanting to have their cake and eating it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are really trying to really invalidate this settlement.
Yes.
like,
Yes.
And it's funny because they worked so hard on this settlement to try and keep, like, for lack of a better term, the floodgates from opening,
Yeah.
right? So that these college sports wasn't flooded by all the money that, let's just be real, we know was getting paid under the table anyway. Like, you think a Dylan Raiola is going to where Lincoln, Nebraska for his health? Like, come on.
I mean, you want to go there? You think Archie Manning is going to Texas without an NIL deal or money like that? You know, like.
Right. I mean,
hello, RC. I know I'm back.
Look, I let's just be real. Y'all think people's kids were going to play with Nick Saban to Tuscaloosa, Alabama for their health? like, come on now. Like, I am always of the mindset that, like, y'all know I'm pro chaos. So, like, and the NCAA just makes it so easy to be pro chaos because they are the literal definition of cutting off, like, what's the saying? Cutting off your face and spiting yourself or something like that. Like,
cut off your face to spite your nose.
Yeah,
cut off your nose to spite your face.
Your face, yeah. That like, they're the literal definition of this because, like, you have a settlement which schools like James Madison and other schools and the D3 schools were upset about because they would have to pay the majority of it, while the bigger schools in the ACC, in the SEC, not the ACC, in the SEC and the Big Ten, because it was their athletes got to skate and not have to pay money, So you already had that. And now you're like, while we're at it, we want to limit the Syracuse collective, the UConn collective, the Villanova collective, the USC collective, the Alabama collective. We want to limit all these collectives. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, you guys are making my argument for me why there should be a union for these.
What's so funny about it is, like, it's so confusing and so stupid that when you say it out loud, you're like, no, that can't be right.
Yeah.
Like, that can't. And you're like, no, it's right. That's what it is. And they're like, and you're like, no, I have to be missing something. And you're like, no, you're not. You actually understand it.
No, the NCAA is really that stupid, y'all. Like,
yeah,
they could pay me and Morgan to be their lawyers, and we would probably do a better job. like I just don't understand. Like, for all the money that they get, for all the billions of dollars which we know they get in March Madness, is that not going to good lawyers? Like, I just don't understand. I don't even want to blame the lawyers because I just feel like this is the NCAA's dumb argument, and they're stuck with making it to these congressional people that are all like, "Do y'all think we're stupid?" I know the approval ratings in the toilet, but y'all know we're not stupid, right?
And it's also like, for what it's worth, there's so much more important stuff going on in our world today. Like, NCAA, just sit down, just let the kids make their money. Stop being butthurt about everything and let everybody enjoy college sports because we love them, and you are making it harder for us to enjoy them.
Right. I mean, I honestly, if I was the NCAA, I'd just save my money, give it up, and just put the work into making a union. Like, because that's where this is going. Yeah. I said this a few months ago. I've been right the whole time, right? This is where this is going. Like, this settlement is going to more than likely be invalidated because schools like James Madison and schools like, I don't want to just pick on Morgan's alma mater, but it's the truth. Like, schools like James Madison, schools like the D3 and the D2 schools are unhappy because they have to pay a majority of this money to these athletes. And they're totally right. It should be Alabama's. It should be the Ohio States. It should be the Penn States. It should be the LSUs of the world who screwed these athletes over, who should be paying the majority of this money. Right. Yeah. But, like, y'all, NCAA, just get out the way. Like, you're gonna just have to make room, man. Like, the Livy Dunns, the Angel Reeses, the Paige Beckers of the world are gonna get their money, making millions of dollars to front these things for the next year to 2.
And for what it's worth, I don't know why the NCAA doesn't understand that NIL is making kids stay in college longer.
Right.
They're giving these schools and the NCAA these stars for a longer period of time. That's my thing that I don't understand why they're so upset about it is, in the long run, they have to be making more money off of it because, like, you can't tell me that somebody that, like,
they're mad because, like, the money now is evenly split, because so instead of them getting 90 or 100% of it, now the 20% or whatever it is has to go to Angel Reese, Livy Dunn, has to go to Dylan Raiola, has to go to these players now, because before 100% of the money was split between them and the schools.
And
now
God forbid that they can't fly around in their private jets to every single game.
God forbid that these ADs have to give some of their $90,000 back to these kids. Lord Jesus, like this is what I mean, right? Like I am of the mindset that if you're in the way of this progress, you need to lose your job, right? There's a lot of people at the NCAA. There's a lot of athletic directors. There's a lot of coaches that need to just get out the way and bring on the more progressive coaches who can work in this world, right?
And we've seen coaches leave because they're like, I don't fit into this world anymore. I have a lot of respect for coaches that are like, this is not me. I'm going to retire. I don't get it.
Right. I can't lie to these kids anymore. God forbid I have to actually tell the truth and tell them that, yeah, you're the 12th man. Like, God forbid. God forbid I actually have to tell the truth instead of wasting a scholarship on somebody who wants to be a top 10 talent in the NFL and the NBA. And I lie to them and tell them that, yeah, it's not going to happen here freshman year, which is why Dylan Raiola goes to Nebraska instead of Alabama or UGA, and why these bigger schools are mad, because they can't lie to these kids anymore. This is why. I know Morgan wants to defend her UConn coach who tells the truth. I know.
You backed up on him and said, "Man does tell the truth." So
I know Dan Hurley is like George Washington. He never told a lie in his life.
Never.
I totally get that, but the rest of these coaches need to stop lying, and so this is good because we're talking about freaking Nebraska. I mean, how long has it been since Nebraska's been relevant in college football discussions? Like when we were all babies? So, like, to answer the question, no, this attempt will not work by the NCAA. Y'all might as well just get ready for a world where there's free agency in college sports now. It's the way it should be. If I'm going to spend 1 to 4 years at your institution before I go to the pro leagues, it should be to the highest bidder. It was for anybody else that goes to college. It should be for the highest bidder. So that's the way it is. And I'm pro telling the truth and stop lying to these kids. Yeah. And if you're a coach in college or in high school and you have a problem with the way I say that y'all lie to these kids, you can show up here and tell me I'm BSing to my face. I know I'm not BSing. So and I know for the fact that a lot of these coaches aren't coming at me that I know I'm telling the truth. So y'all if y'all got a problem with what I'm saying about calling y'all professional liars, you can come see me about it. I think there's lawyers and stuff that probably need to put these coaches on trial for the way they lie. So come on in. If you think you have a problem with what I'm saying, please know that you have a space here, and Morgan would love to see y'all try and tell me I'm lying. But moving right along to the dramatic part about the Olympics. I mean, what a great Olympics, marred by some stupid stuff going on in gymnastics. So Jordan Childs is all around bronze medal drama. Oh my God. So first off, this could have
not all around. It's her. It was her floor routine.
Okay, well, I'll fix that. But
yeah,
you start that while I fix that.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know how gymnastics work, I will kind of take you through it. This is a lot of how that's not true. This is how any sport that is judged works. So whether that's cheerleading, dance, gymnastics, there's all different ways that you do it. And the Olympic way that they do it is a little bit different than the collegiate way. So we'll talk about the Olympic way. You have a difficulty score and a performance score. So let's just make that even easier. So your difficulty score and then your execution score. So your difficulty score is set, does not change. It's preset before the routine. The only time that it will change is if you end up not attempting one of those moves. So in your floor routine, you submit your routine beforehand, which all of the tricks you're going to do, all of the tumbling passes, all of the jumps, the turns, the leaps, all of those things, you submit beforehand. If you attempt to do all of those things, doesn't matter if you fall, you jump out of bounds, doesn't matter. If you attempt all of those moves, you get that difficulty score. So that difficulty score is 10, and you fall on every single move you try, you still will get that full 10 points on that difficulty. Now, the execution skill is the one that's way more subjective, and that is based on the judges watching and seeing how well did you actually perform those skills. That is always going to be subjective, and that's the problem with judge sports. There's no way to make it more fair or not. There's no way to make people have take the bias out of people's brains. It happens in every judge sport ever. And as a coach who coaches a judge sport, it is incredibly frustrating sometimes, but it's something that you know going into that. I would say every Olympics, every big gymnastics meet, this probably happens once, roughly, where somebody disagrees with this or that. Now, if you were watching live, you saw that when Jordan Chiles finished her routine, her score came in and she was in 5th place. And everybody was like, oh, that stinks. Like, okay, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, Andrade was in first. Is that his name? Andrade?
Yeah.
Was in first, and Simone was in second.
Yeah.
And there was the Romanian woman in 3rd.
Right.
I don't know who was in 4th.
Another Romanian gymnast.
So Jordan's coaches went right over to the scores table, and what they do is they submit an inquiry. And their inquiry was that her difficulty level was too low. So the biggest part of that is that this has nothing to do with her execution skill. It's really hard to argue an execution skill, like an execution score, because again, it's subjective. But arguing a difficulty score, totally allowed, because you can say you did not give me the correct starting value for this routine. Now, it is way more complicated than all of this. If there are people that are like professional gymnasts or whatever that are watching and you're like, Morgan, you're making it down too simple. Yes, I understand. I'm making it very simple, but there are people, thank you, RC, on here, like RC. I do explain this to my husband. There are people who don't watch gymnastics or don't understand judge sports in a way, and this just breaks it down and makes it really, really, really simple. It's the simplest way to put it. So they went and they said that her difficulty level was ranked too low. What that means is the judges then will watch back and say, yes, you were correct. And what it was a tour jeté 1.5, which is kind of when you're like this, your feet, so this is the mat. You come up, you turn, you split, and you land. So it's a jump. Nothing to do, no tumbling skill, but it's a ballet move that has kind of been formed into a gymnastics move. It's probably the best way I can describe it. You, like I said, you jump up, you split, and then you land. It's like a 180. Boom, boom. Tour jeté. And they said that they gave her credit for a half or a 1, and she deserved credit for a 1.5, something along those lines. Judges reviewed, they said, you're right. And it doesn't matter how well she executed that skill or whatever. That was the argument. And again, this is super, super rough because I don't even understand the intricacies of it. And that's about where my knowledge of all of this stops making a lot of sense. So that was the inquiry.
And that's
yes, Jordan gets the medal. It was a devastating scene. I don't really know how much was shown live on TV because I'm seeing all the camera angles, and there's this angle of the Romanian girl. She has the flag out, and she like kind of
that was the broadcast. That's what we saw.
Put it down and just starts sobbing. I mean, like rightfully, like and again, the argument is you do know no scores are official until if they have an official, the PA, the voice of God, whatever you want to call it, says, and these are your official things. Right. First place, Andrade. Second place, Simone. Third place, Jordan. Like that's when you know it's official. So yes, I mean, 9 times out of 10, it does not change, but in this case it did. And it's still horrible. So after the fact, the Romanian gymnasts team put in another inquiry, which again is their right to do, totally their right to do. And this is again now where I start to get wildly confused because then it came out that the IOC said that Jordan's team submitted their inquiry 45 or 5 seconds too late. 4 seconds too late. And then the USGA showed a video where they were actually they were 45 seconds early.
Yep.
And then the IOC was like, sorry, doesn't matter. We already called it and we can't do another inquiry. So Jordan has to give her medal up. Now, I think that this was just a whole bunch of cobwebs and things going wrong and judging mistakes. And the confusion that I don't understand, and where it seems like a bias again, and where I can see why people are saying it seems like a bias against the United States, is that both the USGA and whatever the Romanian Gymnast Association is agreed that they could share bronze. That was agreed upon. They were like, why don't we both just share bronze? Meaning the Romanian gymnast would get the bronze. And realistically, nothing's ever going to take away, give that Romanian girl her moment standing on a podium. She'll never get that. So that sucks for her. And, there was a beautiful moment on the podium with 3 Black women who had won in gymnasts, first time ever. That was a beautiful moment that now is tarnished. And it's convoluted and it's weird. And unfortunately, that is the state of gymnastics. And it's really, really hard too, because you see online, if you go online, the posts and stuff like that, they're like, well, the Romanian's routine was better anyway, or no, Jordan's routine, blah, 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 blah. They're both beautiful. Both routines were gorgeous and they're different. The Romanian gymnast is much more artistic and delicate and graceful, whereas Jordan's is a super powerful floor routine, more on the lines of like what Simone does. And both are gymnastics. Power gymnastics and artistic gymnastics, or more stylized, are both gymnastics, and they both are ways to earn points. Being more powerful earns you more points in execution, but so does style. So you can choose which way to go. So it's and that's what makes it hard in a judging manner, because it's internal bias. There's always going to be bias. Somebody's going to be biased to more of an artistic way versus more of a powerful way. And obviously in the Olympics, you would hope that they have the best of the best of the best judges who understand every little thing, but it just doesn't always work like that. And judges are humans. They make mistakes too. It's much different than swimming or track where you're just going off of a number. It's indisputable. Gymnastics, there always will be an argument. And then you see there's arguments on Jordan's side that the Romanian gymnast stepped out of bounds. And then they've shown the routine and said, no, she didn't step out of bounds, or she did, or her heel was blah, blah, blah. It's just, there's never a right answer, but the right answer in this situation would have been giving them both the bronze. I think that would have made everybody happy. I don't believe any gymnast has ever been stripped, or any athlete has ever been stripped from their medal, barring drugs or performance enhancing skills or drugs. And I'm fairly certain.
You would be correct, and why it's a problem.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing, is that there is an internally, and I'm not the right person to say if race is involved. I'm not. I'm a white girl. I'm absolutely not the right person to say. But what I do know is that there have been far too many racial comments on things that Jordan has posted, that her family has posted. Like, that shit's got to stop. That shit, like, it's just so bad. It's nasty. It's disgusting. And, I think, as a human being, you want to hope that the judge that what's going on with the IOC is that's not what's going on. But there probably is some of that. And that's horrible. And, I am not saying that the Romanian girl does not deserve to have a medal. I'm not, because I think that she probably got screwed just as much, and I think there's probably an argument that people could say that she got screwed more than Jordan did. I'm not really sure which one, because she did. She'll never, even if she gets the gold or the silver or the bronze, she doesn't get her moment ever. She got shown sobbing on national television. She'll never get to be in that award ceremony, and it's always going to be tainted. And Jordan, that moment, that beautiful moment that she had, will always be tainted. It's such a shitty situation that the IOC has created. And, the IOC, the Court of Arbitration of Sports, the FIG, all of this has been created with such a mess. It was so easily said, we made a mistake. You can even say, we're not really sure who deserves to have the bronze, but we're going to have them both share it. And that probably should have been done there before the award ceremony, realistically, they probably should have done a little bit longer of an inquiry there. Even if they hold off the award ceremony for a day to figure out what happened, will probably have been better. I don't know why they didn't. But the biggest issue of all of this is that no athlete has ever been stripped of their medal without drugs, alcohol, performance enhancing drugs, anything like that, anything illegal. Jordan did nothing wrong, nothing. She performed her routine to the best of her abilities and got screwed over by the judges. So did the Romanian girl. Neither of them were, these inquiries were nothing to do with anything that they did. They weren't even arguing that their skills or should have been higher or anything like that. It was that their starting difficulty. And then it was stupid ticky-tacky stuff like, well, if they submitted it too late, well, blah, it just is stupid. And I think a lot of people just truly think that they should be sharing the medal. I do not know as of now if she has sent her medal back. I know she did a interview yesterday.
She's not sending that medal back.
Good, and she shouldn't have to.
Let me clear this for y'all. She's not sending, like, if I was her, I would be like, y'all can come get it in Compton in 4 years. She is not sending that medal back, and she shouldn't. I know People Magazine yesterday got a lot of people up in arms on Thursday about, like, because they did the medal ceremony for the Romanian girl yesterday or Thursday, and people were like, because People Magazine posted that Jordan was sending the medal back, and that was not true at all. They just gave her a different medal, obviously. And that's the way it should be. Like, you know, I am of the mindset, the more I hear about this, the more it sounds like Paris and its problematic thing with race keeps putting its head in. We've had the Ayesha Curry situation earlier where she got hit because she was abused with a newborn baby, by the way. Nice job, Paris. like you know, getting abused because her husband beat their teens behinds. You know, and they were going to an after party, and the cops had no idea who they were talking to. I don't know how you have no idea who you're talking to, but they had no idea, and there was a whole thing. I'll get to that in my he's not him, they aren't them, she's not her. Stay tuned for that one. But like, first and foremost, Morgan did an excellent job breaking down the gymnastics piece, but I'm here to burn it all down anyway. So nice job. But, like, you know, I mean, there's just so many problems here, right? Like, first and foremost, like, how do you send the stuff IOC and FIG and Court of Arbitration of Sport to the wrong freaking U.S. representatives? How do you do that? Like that? Y'all have the list of every big time United States official, and you send it to the wrong lawyers. How do you send it to the wrong lawyers? You don't have the gymnastics lawyers on speed dial? Like, first and foremost, the time difference. What's up? That's the dog that likes to make appearances every time.
Yes, this is Murray.
Look at him smiling. Like, you know, how do you do that? That's the first thing. Second thing, how do you have a lawyer? You want to talk about bias, like a judge there that has done work with the Romanian team. So, like, already one of your judges is extremely biased. And now I know the thing in the Court of Arbitration of Sports said, oh, we made it clear to the United States they had this thing and they dropped their listing. But I think that's all invalidated because you sent the email to the wrong lawyers. Like, what are you doing? So thankfully, a reporter that was there had the video, because otherwise this would have all been a whole thing, and it would have been basically they said, right? So we had the official thing where it's 45 seconds. Jordan's coach is there, so we know it's official. And then now to cover themselves, to cover their behinds even more, now the thing in the court and the cast is like, oh, well, you know, we can't talk to that person because they were hired by France and we have no idea who that person is. And I'm just like, man, y'all just really trying to cover your behind. This is really reminding me of, like, something that would happen in Morgan's home city of DC. It's just something that, like, you ever just see the story just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and everybody's just like, yeah, I thought this was just a simple mistake, but now it just seems like it's a bunch of incompetence all put together. And the fact that Jordan Childs and these two Romanian journalists now Romanian athletes have to pay for mistakes, as Morgan so eloquently said, of idiots. I won't even call you professionals, idiots, like who are on these committees who shouldn't be, right? Like if Jordan Childs has to give back her medal, everybody associated with this and the Court of Arbitration of Sport and the thing should lose their jobs. If she got to give her medal back, then y'all should be stripped of y'all jobs. Because if she was late, y'all should have known that, right? Because it's two things, right? It's not the athlete's fault. It's the people. It's the judge's fault. Like first and foremost, I've always had this problem with gymnastics, especially so now that we're all under the Simone Biles curve and Rebecca Andrade curve. Y'all should not be judging similar style athletes based on the Andrade and Simone Biles curve. Like, because those two are one of one. Like, Jordan Childs is a great gymnast, but judging her on the Simone Biles, Rebecca Andrade, and Morgan can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the main problem here. They judged her on an Andrade and Simone Biles type of judging. And they should have just judged her as Jordan Childs with the way that she does stuff instead of the Rebecca Andrade, the Rebecca Andrade, Simone Biles curve, because Jordan's a great gymnast, but Rebecca Andrade and Simone Biles, she is not.
So I think a lot of people, again, is what's hard for them when they're watching gymnastics is things might not look that different to you versus like how Rebecca Andrade and Simone do it versus like somebody like Jordan. It's a ton of like little stuff that they're doing. They're doing an extra curve. They're doing an extra half turn. They're doing an extra one less step. They're doing all these different things. And again, all that's doing is raising their initial difficulty skills. So their difficulty scores. So if you're looking at like Rebecca and Simone's difficulty skills to start with, they're so much higher than everybody else's difficulty skills. So say that your difficulty skill is out of 10, then your execution is also out of 10. Does that make sense? Like your execution, I'm like, now that I'm saying that, I'm like, that might not be true. I'm pretty sure that your execution skill is always out of 10.
Yes, everything's
and
out of 10.
Your difficulty skill can go up to 10. So I think whatever, or maybe it's higher. I'm not sure, but that's how you get most of these like 14.5, 16.5. But like Simone and Rebecca's difficulty skills are at like 8s. Whereas like some of the other people's difficulty skills are at like 6s. So if they both perform, so if you perform the 8 not as well as someone is performing the 6, you're still going to score higher.
Right.
So that's what makes it really hard for Simone and Rebecca to lose. Like, I mean, you saw Simone went out of bounds, I think, on every single tumbling pass that she did on her floor, and she still came in second.
Yeah.
You know, and that is because it's not necessarily that the other judges are judging the other girls on that level, but they're judging. It is, and it isn't. It's like, oh, you messed up doing this skill that's a 6. Simone can do an 8. Perfect. You know, it's
right.
In a perfect world, you would have a different set of judges for every single person. But you can't. There's no perfect way to do judge sports, and trust me, it will. I'm telling everybody at home, it will make your brain hurt. And I'm telling you, because this is what I do when my dance team. This is every week. It is frustrating, and again, I think the only way that you would ever be able to do it, the next best thing to make it fair, would be if you brought the judges in and somehow magically they didn't, again, in a team situation, it's a lot easier. Individually, it's not as good, but they didn't know who these gymnasts were. They didn't know what, they didn't know what team they were with. And I don't know, maybe they perform the routine and then an AI version gets sent to the judges in the judging room and they watch it and they judge it and they don't get to know what gymnast it is, who did it, blah, blah, blah. That would be the fairest way to do it. I say that all the time in dance team. I wish that when we went out there, they didn't announce what team it was. They just said team 1, team 2, because I think sometimes there's internal bias. If they have seen teams perform, they're like, I can give you a great example in the state of Connecticut. Sometimes there are teams that you feel like they get extra points just because they have won that competition or that style in the past. And you wish sometimes you could just go in and be like, this is team A. And they perform and they rate team A and they don't know what school they're with or what country they represent. But again, that's never going to happen. There's just no way to make that happen. And the hope is that you can find judges that don't have internal bias. But as we all know, every human in the world has internal bias, whether they want to or not. Some people's internal bias is, much less damaging than other people's internal bias, but everybody has it.
Right, and because of all of this incompetence, Jordan Chiles has the unholy history, for lack of a better term, of being the first gymnast ever or athlete ever to get stripped of a medal for not doping and because of total incompetence, like of people who should know better. And I'm happy that USAG is fighting this because, as was pointed out in the broadcast, as Lori Hernandez pointed out, this probably would not be happening if the Piolis were still over this.
Yes.
They probably wouldn't have been having as much fun. And so I'm happy that the United States OC is doing everything that it can. And I believe that to answer the question, they should have just shared the medals instead of trying to make a point. And another thing is the head of the Romanian OC, Nadia Comaneci, just needs to shut up too. Like she's trying to absolve herself now because she put out a tweet that basically was like, there was a couple of athletes that didn't deserve to be up there. She basically tried to do a Romanian Jay-Z, and I'm like, nah. You're not gonna do that to these three. So like your Romanian girls were not beating Andrade or this was the problem, right? So she basically put out a tweet in Romanian or Russian, right, about how certain people, essentially she went Jay-Z, right? Certain people didn't deserve to be up there, and everybody kind of knew who she was talking about, right? Like your Romanian girls weren't beating Andrade and Simone. So by process of elimination, we kind of knew who you were talking about who didn't belong there. It didn't take a Russian to figure out what you were talking about, right? So there was this whole thing over there. Jordan got some undue racial hate because, nothing brings out the worst form of patriotism and nationalism than when a certain people that look a certain way beat the lily white blonde hair girl, right? So nothing brings that out faster than that, right? And so Jordan's been abused verbally on social media and stuff, and as Morgan said, it needs to stop. Now the Romanians are also trying to cover themselves by saying she didn't say what we know she said, and it's a whole thing. But yes, to answer this next question, will Jordan Chiles become a bigger gymnastics star after this, or she ends up the main highlight of the Olympics that at times was problematic? As I just highlighted, Paris, France had a lot of racially problematic stuff that happened during these Olympics. And for some of you that know about it, some of you that don't, we just highlighted two of them with Ayesha Curry and Jordan Chiles. I think she'll be a bigger star because of this. I think that, people are going to ride for her now because I wouldn't give that medal back. So I think that, it's her bronze medal. I think the IOC and the thing should have just shared the medal instead of trying to make her pay for incompetence all around. And like I said, I'm not pro anybody losing their jobs, but in this case, the judges need to lose their jobs. The timekeeper needs to lose his or her job. All the judges need to never judge an Olympics ever again or a gymnastics event ever again. They need to have training things for how you judge people. And don't use the Andrade and Biles scale on anybody, not them. They need to figure out a better way to do this. Maybe it needs to be computer. Maybe you just need to text your inquiry so you don't have to literally run. Because Jordan Chiles' coach, when you think about it, must have been superhuman because whoever it was went from hugging her to running to the table to be like, yo, we want to do this right now in 45 seconds. I am of the mindset that there shouldn't be. Here's what I think should happen, right? It's just in gymnastics in general. If there is a problem with the score, there shouldn't be a time limit. Like until the end of the competition, if you wanna do it, like you should do it. And you just gotta think about this, right? Had it not been a random name generator, having Jordan Chiles go last instead of first, if that would have happened, it probably would have happened a lot quicker instead of the time and the circumstance made this happen.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing that people forget is that, if she had been the second person, they still would have inquired it. It wasn't because she was in fifth. It was because they looked at her score and they said, this score is too low.
Right.
That is what it is. They looked at the numbers and they added them up and they said, no, her difficulty should have been higher. And they would have gone over and they would have done it and they would have fixed it before anybody got too excited about anything. And that, but I think we've kind of hit the nail on the head a few times here. And let's move on to Team USA beating
USA. Team USA men's basketball beat down France. We know that Morgan was watching this a lot earlier and got the final score before any of us, before Steph Curry was shrugging and shimmying all over France and making a lot of French people upset. There's going to be a lot of Stephens in France now. a lot of American Stephens running around. A lot of did you see the video that I put on Twitter of like people are gonna they were like there's gonna be a lot of French babies learning with Stephen de Booker. But yeah, so they beat down France. Unfortunately, Joel Embiid didn't get a lot of blow here, but it's not about that. It is about Team USA, the trinity of LeBron, KD, and Steph Curry, an end of an era for a lot of people as far as Team USA basketball, at least for KD and LeBron. Obviously, this was Steph's first Olympics. But I'm of the mindset that that was a great game, a really, really good basketball game. Like Wemby is coming, and I think that there should have been more Joel Embiid. I think if I have any criticism of that game, they were letting Wemby just do whatever he wanted. AD and Bam had nothing for him. And Joel Embiid, even recovering from knee surgery, he struggled the most against him. So I don't know why. And this is why I understand now why Warriors fans be so frustrated with Steve Kerr, because I didn't understand why Joel Embiid was on the bench while Wemby was going off. But, they still won. Steph Curry won God mode. But yeah, I think Steve Kerr needs to figure out the next coach, whether it's Steve Kerr or somebody else, if Joel Embiid, or if there is a superstar big man on your roster, he needs to play. So let me just go.
I've said this. I said this before. I will say this again. I said it on Twitter. I think that every Team USA should be coached by a college coach. I think that being coached by an NBA coach, specifically one that has players on the team, is just never good. In the NBA, the coaches don't run the teams, the players do, and that's widely known. So why not put a college coach on there that doesn't give an F about what these players think? Make them actually work, put them through drills, make them play like a team, because every other team in Europe is so team-based, whereas, the NBA is a lot more stars and this and that. And, they struggled. I thought they were going to lose against Serbia. I had no hope, and Steph Curry went God mode.
I never thought they were going to lose to Serbia. I was like, Joel Embiid doesn't lose to.
But I said this on Twitter. I said, think about having Dan Hurley on the sidelines, like during this game where they're losing by this much. Even when they used to have Coach K do it, you know what I mean? And there's all these interviews with players that were on the dream team and things like that. And they're like, holy crap, like he's freaking crazy. Talking about Coach K, and then they talk about how much they mean to him. And all of these players respect these college coaches so much. And I just, it's a different level of respect than they respect their NBA coaches. And I don't know if it's because the college coaches tend to be older. I don't know what it is, but I think that if you win the national championship in the 4 years leading up to the Olympics, you should be on the coach. Those 4 coaches should be on the coaching staff. And then we can decide between those 4 coaches, or 3, because, UConn always wins, who the head coach is. But I truly think it should be a college coach. I do not think it should be an NBA coach.
Well, they have to be accepted then. But I'm of the mindset that I to answer this question, right? Like, I'm of the mindset that I never thought they were going to lose to Serbia, just because it was like Serbia was hitting like 100% from three. No one ever does that. Not even the UConn Huskies. Like, you come down eventually. So, like, there was just things that was always working against Serbia, and the fact that they were annoying. Like, they were annoyingly arrogant, right? Like you had Bojan Bojanovic doing this to Carmelo Anthony, and I was like, yeah, they're going to lose this game. Because a certain thing about humbly winning, and you just gave a great thing about team basketball in Europe, but this is why team basketball doesn't work against a bunch of top 20 basketball players. All it takes is one person getting hot, right? And in that Serbia game, it was Joel Embiid and Steph Curry. I knew they were going to lose because I was like, man, Steph Curry has 20, 30 points by halftime. Like, he's going to drop 50, and then somebody has to. Once they forced Serbia and Nikola Jokic to be perfect, I knew they were going to lose, right? So, and once that happened, it was done. Once the pressure got to him, once Joel Embiid started dominating, and had the Serbia coach upset because they thought he traveled with FIBA rules where you can do anything in FIBA, right? And I don't think the world is really catching up. I think France had the best chance, as was shown in both of these games, to beat Team USA, and they got destroyed on their home soil. I think Wembanyama is coming, but I think that you're going to have to assemble, if you're the world, a team of top 10, top 20 NBA All Stars, and there's just not that many. There's just not that many that are not international players. I mean, you see the difference, right? It's not the dream team where America had the most talent, and America had the most talent this time, right? Like, a lot of French people were mad because they wanted the three-headed beast of having Embiid, Wemby, and Rudy on the same team, and I don't think that would have. I mean, they definitely were missing Joel Embiid in France, but so was Team USA. So, like, I don't think the world is really catching up. I think people overdo it. I think that the world is getting closer, but I think the gap is just too wide, even without LeBron, Steph Curry, and KD. I just think the gap is too wide. Like, they leave, now you're gonna have Tatum, right? Joel Embiid, if he decides to play, like, then he was the best player on the team. He'll be even more the best player on the team, right? Tyrese Maxey, you'll have a bunch of younger stars. Ja Morant wasn't even in the field. Like, you gonna have a lot more younger stars coming, and like I'm not Anthony Edwards. Like, the world isn't catching up on the men's side. I mean, they just won the 6th straight gold medal. I'll let Morgan talk about what she thinks, but I don't think the world's catching up. I think it's something that in basketball that we overdo because we're so in love with the FIBA rules until we see it over 2 weeks, and then we're all like, a goal 10 is a goal 10, a foul is a foul, 3 seconds is 3 seconds. Like, there's a lot of things that FIBA does wrong, but the one thing I'll give FIBA, like I gave on the last few weeks, is I do like the point differential.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of that is very factual and very true.
Yeah, so what player will take the next step from playing on the Olympic team? So I have a couple.
I think, and I mean, I think there's different ways to look at it.
Okay.
I think that Steph Curry coming back, I think that a lot of people are saying that he's the undisputed generational talent. There's now there's the Steph versus LeBron debate, which I think is silly, but whatever. I'm not going to argue it. So I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on Steph, and not that everyone didn't know who he was. I think that's crazy. But I think the one is, and you might laugh at me, or maybe not, maybe you have the same. I think Jason Tatum. I think Jason Tatum has so much to prove. Mm-hmm. And I think that he's probably so angry. Like, I can't even imagine. And here's the thing. I have to say that he handled that entire situation with the utmost respect. Never said a word. His mom said stuff. His fans said stuff, but he never said anything. And I think that him coming back is going to light a fire under his ass and be like, you didn't want to play me? Fine. Like, let me show you how good I can be. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, again, Kylan knows that I don't watch the most college basketball of any of us, or NBA. But I don't know. I just think that was an embarrassment that happened to him on a international stage. And I mean, I just don't even know why they brought him if they were going to do that to him. I think it's rude. I don't think that you bring somebody of that caliber. And I know that sounds like I want everybody to have a participation trophy, but like in some of those early games when you were up by however many, just why didn't you just put him in? I get you don't want to put him in towards the end of this, whatever, when it's close, you need to, I get that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying those first few games where they were just blowing people out. I don't understand it. It's so weird. And Steve Kerr knows it's going to draw more controversy. I just don't understand it. You can, and maybe you have a different answer or maybe the same. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Tatum should have played. And everybody knows I'm the Celtics hater on here. I think Tatum should have played. I said the same thing about Joel Embiid. Like these are the current top 3, top 5, top 10, whatever, top 15 players. They should both be playing. But sometimes the matchup is the matchup, and unfortunately, Joel Embiid and Jason Tatum both got victimized by the matchups not working in their favor. But yeah, I think they both should have played. I think those two are going to have live fires lit under their behinds as well. I think I'm gonna go a different way. I'm gonna go with Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, you needed a playmaker. You needed a guy to spread the ball out. And he would have more DMPs than both Joel Embiid and Jason Tatum, but people been flying under the radar because I guess the Pacers fans, maybe they were happy because he didn't have to play since he got injured during the playoffs, so maybe they didn't want him to play. Anyway, but I'm of the mindset that Tyrese Halliburton is going to be the person to take the next step because, he was ultimately disrespected because he didn't play at all. So I'm of the mindset that it's Tyrese Halliburton. I'm of the mindset that it's Tyrese Halliburton that's going to take this next step. I think it's Tyrese Halliburton. I think it's Anthony. I think it's Devin Booker too. Like I think he's very motivated. Like because he was the glue of that team. I think it's Tyrese Halliburton, Devin Booker, and Joel Embiid. I think and Jason Tatum that'll take the next step now. And I just think because Steph Curry is Steph Curry. I mean, it's great for all you people who aren't extreme basketball fans. You got to witness why they call Steph Curry the greatest shooter ever. I'm glad that a lot of people got to witness that, and unfortunately, his wife and his family paid the price because there were a lot of angry French people. But I think that Steph Curry, Steph Curry is Steph Curry. I am. That's where I am. I am on it. Sorry, I missed one of these. So Team USA women's basketball, so the other one was more of a blowout than the other one, but Team USA women's basketball struggled mightily. Now I was in church, so I didn't watch this game because of the time difference. But it's barely escaped France with a victory. I mean, Morgan, what happened here? From what I understand, Philadelphia's own Kalia Cooper had to put her Superwoman cape on and come say, speaking of people who didn't get any run, Kalia Cooper, like the third leading scorer in the WNBA, they got no run up until they needed somebody to come and muck up the game. And she saved them. She saved their behinds. Like, from what I understand, from the highlights and everything. I mean, Morgan, you probably saw more of this game than me.
Yeah, I think
Kalia Cooper with the Superwoman cape, right?
I think there's a lot to be said about the fact that we are right in the middle of the WNBA season. I felt like they looked tired. I feel like they looked a little flat. They have a lot of older players on their team, and I love Diana Taurasi. I do. I don't know if she should have been on the team, and I genuinely also don't think that Caitlin Clark should have been on the team. I'm going to preface that, but I think there are other people that could have been put on the team.
Like a Erica Gumbawale, like her.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that in reality, when Caitlin looks back, she probably will say, "I have a million times to play on the USA team. I have not gotten a break since
Last summer.
November, like really since like November-ish, maybe before that,
No,
or late October.
Last summer when they not this summer because obviously they were drafted, but last summer when she wasn't drafted yet. So
yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like she has not had a break, so I'm thinking she probably, and I bet you she comes out and she rocks the rest of the WNBA season. She's finally gotten to rest, but I just felt like they looked flat, and I think sometimes it's hard because they didn't have any hard games. Like USA came in after Serbia and we're like, shoot, like we gotta play, like we gotta. And USA Women's didn't really have that. Kind of the first game where it looked like that was this one, and they
had it. They did have it against Belgium, but that turned into a rout after Alyssa.
That's what I'm saying. Like they didn't. This one, France just seemed to kind of keep up with them almost the whole game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch this game until later, so I think I'm gonna say this was the Kahleah Copper game, and I think that she put on her Superwoman cape. Obviously, Asia did great as well. Stewie, it seemed like, had an off game. Like you said, the tiredness probably got to her, but this is why I said you got to use your bench, man. Like, especially on the women's side, right? Sabrina's on the bench. Why is she not in the game? Like, I thought Cheryl Reeve was listening to me when she finally told Diana Taurasi it's time to go to the bench and then let me put Jackie Young in the game. But I'm of the mindset that on the women's side, the world definitely isn't catching up. I mean, you saw the commercial, right? All these every 4 years they come together for second place, and there was no harder line in a commercial than that. I am of the mindset that there's no with the women's team you just can't compete. I am of the mindset that like RC said, Caitlin, to your point, Caitlin Clark, 29, 10, and 6 yesterday against the Mercury.
That's what I'm saying. I think that the break was so needed for her, and I think she will look back on this and be happy that she wasn't on the Olympic team. I think she genuinely will. I think she's again, she will have her opportunity. She will play. Her first Olympic game will be in LA. Her first Olympic game will be in LA. That's awesome. That's so cool to have that be your first Olympic game.
Well, we'll see. Let's not count our chickens.
I mean, if she's not injured, I would be shocked that she wouldn't be on the team.
Let's not, because there's Aaron. I just want to let's just clear this up, right? Even if you take out Diana and Chelsea Gray, right? Let's just take them both out, right? Sabrina's starting. That's point guard. Then you got Jackie at SG. It's not the one thing I will say on both the men's and the women's side is very guard heavy, right? So I just don't think either way. I think everything being fair, right? You take out Chelsea, Chelsea Gray and Diana Taurasi aren't there, and I know both Morgan and RC and a lot of other fans think it would have been Caitlin Clark, but I have said this: the biggest snub was Irike Agumbawale, right? How is the leading scorer for the WNBA not there? And I know she plays SG and small forward, but how is she not there? So she's there, right? If Diana Taurasi and Chelsea aren't playing, right? If that was Diana's last Olympics, you take her out, you got to put in Irike before Caitlin, right? So that's a problem. So there goes the spot for Caitlin Clark right there, right? Sabrina is the point. I know y'all hate me for saying this, but Sabrina is the point guard for Team USA, and Caitlin Clark's on. This is what I think, right? I think I want to see Caitlin Clark in LA. I want to see her in Team USA, but I think a lot of people are counting their age before their age because, like I said, you have Sabrina who's already on the team that'll be there as the starting PG. You'll have Caitlin at her more natural SG, but if Enrique's there, she's going to be on the bench. That's what I'm saying. Let's not do that because then people are going to be upset when 2028 comes and you got Enrique and Sabrina in front of her, and then you got her competing with Paige and Juju, who play the same dang position. So let's not count the age before they.
That's also true. That's also true, and I think that's something that you have to consider.
That's true, and I totally forgot about Kelsey Plum.
Kelsey Plum played amazing.
She also plays point guard, so.
But I think you also have to remember that some of these players have been playing solidly on the USA team for ever. I know Paige has. I know like Cameron Brink. I know Haley Van Lith. Like all of them have been. And I generally, I do not know. I know Caitlin Clark has been on a few of the USA, like the like under 18 or whatever USA teams, but like, I'm not sure to the extent of like some of these other players, you know, like Azifa, like all of them, like that's where they all met. So I think that, you know, Team USA also puts a big cap on who has kind of given their time to Team USA again, regardless of if that's fair or not. They do that.
Yeah. So who are the so hold on. Well, we don't need that. So they all are going to benefit, and they probably all need some rest as this WNBA season is about to show. But so who were your star or stars of the Olympics for you?
Not just basketball, across the board.
Yeah, across the board, the whole game.
The women. I mean, I think you just got to shout out the USA women. I think the USA men only had 3 individual medals. I want to say 3 individual gold medals.
Would have had 4 if Noah didn't have COVID.
Yeah. Or if that guy decided he could share his pole vaulting medal or whatever.
I mean, look, man, I don't want to clown that because, like, I know that was a great sportsmanship story, but I mean, if we're all had that thing, no one wants to share a medal. Like, let's just be real. Like,
I don't know. I think I'd be like, I get gold, done. Maybe that's my.
True, I would do the same thing, but like, you and I are not like high. Like, we're athletes, but we're not high level.
No, that's true. You're very right. What else? Let me see. Oh my gosh, now I'm blanking on.
All right, well,
why don't you go while I look
women's
up.
rugby team. I mean, Iona Mahal.
Yeah, Iona Meyer. So
Ariana Ramsey. Like, I mean, rugby. Like, even though I think rugby is a good way to like lose an MCL and ACL, I've seen a lot of my friends who do it, men's and women's. A lot of them have knee braces that make them look like offensive linemen, but they're rugby players. So like, I'm of the mindset that, you know, the women's rugby team. Let's just shout out the fencing team too. Like,
yes,
Lauren Scruggs. Like, you know, I think there was one girl who like won a medal, and then her husband won a medal too. I think they're both from the Philly area. So shout out to them. Like, I mean, what more can you say? Like, Iona Mahar might be the star of stars here because
I mean,
like,
it's just
like she like has a front face now. Her TikToks, her Twitters, like she might have been outside of Snoop Dogg and Flavor Flav, like the unofficial mascot of these Olympics.
The USA women's track team. I mean, Sydney McLaughlin. You got who else am I missing? Yes.
Gabby, don't forget Gabby Thomas, the other one.
Gabby Thomas. I've been hearing about her for a while because I work track at Harvard.
Gabby is hers. I mean, like Katie Ledecky. I mean, the women's swim.
Yeah. Katie, you can't forget.
It was a lot. But we're talking about like I just want to say when I say stars, I'm not talking about people who like Katie, Sydney, Gabby. Like these are people that, like I said before the Olympics starts, Morgan heard me say like I didn't tell y'all to bet, but I mean you see Gabby Thomas, you see Noah Lyles, you see Sha'Carri Richardson like running track, or Sydney, like that's a guarantee. That's not a guarantee. That's a guarantee. Like, but I want to shout out. I mean, TT Terry, like your area, the DMV, right? Like TT Terry, Quincy, like.
And Katie Ledecky's from there too.
Katie Ledecky, like Kevin Durant, so many.
Tori Husk had an amazing Olympics.
So many. Tori Husk. I mean, look at that. Tori Husk, another star. Like Reagan Smith, like all the DMV, the people that put on for the DMV. But the star for me has to be Iana because, like, to me, a star of the Olympics is somebody who I didn't expect. I didn't expect to fall in love with a girl from New Hampshire. So
did you not follow her last Olympics? She was so fun last Olympics. I loved her. She was awesome.
I did not follow her.
Yeah, she was great.
So
she got really popular on Twitter or on TikTok last Olympics. She you know, I mean, there was the Norwegian guy who was obsessed with the Yeah, our women's soccer team, Trinity Rodman, Mallory Swanson, crushed it.
You mean the big three, huh? Yeah. We know all about the Trinity. Literally, the Trinity and Trinity. We know all about the Trinity. Like, oh, speaking of they are them, like the Chicago Cubs or whoever it was, how do you mess up on your baseball player on your player's wife? Like, they put the wrong you put Sophia, who's I don't think she's married. Is she married?
I don't know. It's
I don't think Sophia's married, but like,
it's
how
just
do you mess
it just shows that there's I can't. It's so bad. It's so bad.
how do you mess that one up? But yeah, so that's my star, Iona Maharan, the U.S. women's rugby team, the fencing team. Obviously, you gotta love the table tennis team is whole thing with Anthony Edwards and the fact that I think there was a lot more going on there than meets the eye. Don't you? I think there's a lot more going on there. I think there's about to be some fencing and some ping pong and basketball prodigies born in the next few months. I'm not saying anything happened there because I don't know, but don't be surprised.
Yeah, I think it was fun Olympics. So NBA schedule release. Kylan, I know nothing about this. Yeah, breakdancing was disappointment.
Oh my! We didn't even talk about this whole ray gun thing, man.
Yeah, it's bad. It's I feel for her a little bit because I mean she did go to the Olympics, but I don't know. It's tough. You see like the women that she was up against in the trials to get there in Australia, and they seemingly are so much better than her. So again, I thought I would understand it a little bit since I coach dance. I understand it not even a second, and I don't think they did a good job.
You want to explain what RC is talking about for our people who don't know?
Oh, yeah.
Australia breakdancing scene and how they happen.
So first off, just so you guys know, every Olympics, the host country gets to bring in a few sports, and if everybody loves them, they stay. If everybody doesn't, they leave. The IOC also can just vote to bring a sport in too. In LA, I know we're doing baseball and softball. I believe there might be another one, but that's definitely what we're doing. A lot of people are pushing for cheerleading as well. I don't know if it's too late for that to be brought in, but I do know that people are pushing for that.
It's America, so why not?
Yeah.
Flag football.
Well, football. And flag football. That's the three. Okay, that's what the third is. Yeah. But breakdancing, if you watched it, was a little bit of a disaster. I mean, first off, I have to I hate to be poo-poo on the company or whatever, but I don't think they did a very good job explaining how stuff worked, and maybe they didn't know. The battles were very confusing. I didn't really understand. They we watched it live and we ended up turning it off. We were like, this is freaking weird. And then Ray Gunn was one of the Olympians from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've seen, even if you didn't know who it was, you've seen her over Twitter or TikTok. And she tends to just roll around on the floor. It kind of looks like, and I'm sure she's doing breakdancing moves, but it does have the appearance of a toddler. That's, the biggest joke was like, my toddler says, "Hey mom, watch this," and rolls around on the floor. And I think anybody who's interacted with kids is like, yeah,
I didn't watch breakdances, so I only heard about this through the memes.
Yeah, exactly. And they were like, yeah. And there was some really, really, really talented people doing stuff. So that it's hard and it is unfair that she was the one that went viral and famous, because there was some really cool stuff. And the Paralympics breakdancing is unbelievable. If you give that a watch, it's so cool. I mean, there were people like full on doing like 360s on their heads, like it, and I don't want to clown her because she made it there, but there is some stuff going on where they're throwing out some allegations of
her husband rigging it for her.
Yeah, some rigging happening. And, this is all alleged. This is all stuff that we have read through the media. I know nothing. Obviously, it's Australia. It's very far away. It is interesting when you watch the prelims and like the trials in Australia. The people that she beats are seemingly better than her. And again, I think that's hard because none of us actually understand what's going on in breakdancing.
Yes.
So it's hard to tell. Maybe they aren't. Maybe the stuff that she's doing is harder. I don't know.
I think we understand it from not to cut you off, from an American's perspective, right? We all have watched You Got Served or Drumline and all the other breakdance movies, so we understand it from like an American perspective, which is.
And it's hard because I think people that live in cities, like, you know, Philly might have them. I don't know. New York obviously has them everywhere.
Philly does.
B-boys are just everywhere. And like you look at some of the B-boys that are like on the street in New York, and a lot of comments were going around. They were like, the local B-boy that is on my subway stop is better than some of these people, which is true. Like the stuff and maybe there's stuff that's not allowed to be done. Again, I don't understand the rules enough to know that, but some of the stuff that I see done by the B-boys in New York City was more impressive than some of the stuff in my mind.
I mean,
that was happening at the Olympics.
I'll say it like this, man. We've seen more interesting people on the DC, the New York, the Philly subway line that we saw at the Olympics. And I don't want to poo-poo on it because that was the one place where the men actually won an individual event where the women didn't. And like, you know, the
men's was really cool. Honestly, the men's was cooler, I think, all around than the women. I don't know what it was. The battle aspect of it really took me out. I think if they just went out there and danced, I would have enjoyed it more. I don't know. The battle was weird, and I think that it should be like a floor routine where they can pick their own music, they prepare a routine, and they do it. But I guess that's not what breakdancing is. So, you know, I mean,
in everyone's defense, I think France just made these rules, and
I'm sure that might be it. I have no idea.
And like as RC said, skateboarding succeeded where breakdancing failed. I mean, you know, skateboarding was always going to succeed just because we all grew up, even everybody with the Tony Hawk tricky games and everything. So we all love that. It's kind of like skiing, right? Like I don't really care about.
You want to know a fun backstory?
Well,
so,
go ahead.
Speaking of skateboarding, so I get a text on like the first day of the Olympics, maybe, and my friends are like, we are at a concert and there's this guy and I'm like, okay, like who is he? And they were like,
who was it?
Tony Hawk? Trying to find the exact.
Was it Tony Hawk?
No.
Okay.
It was what is his name actually? Now I'm like completely blanking.
While you do that, RC said the golfers could have breakdanced better, and I think I would have paid money to see Scotty Scheffler do a backflip.
Yeah. So I get a text from my friends, and they're like, "We're at this concert in Stanford, and I swear to God, Ryan Sheckler is right there." And I was like, "It probably is. He's working the Olympics, so he's probably there." So they go up and they start talking to him because they were in like the VIP section.
Ryan Sheckler, oh my God.
Ryan Sheckler, and they were talking to him, and he was calling skateboarding for NBC. And he said that he'd already gotten in trouble twice. This was like day one, twice by the cops for just like skateboarding around Stanford in like areas where he wasn't supposed to be skateboarding. And then he told our friends that there was this like skate park in Stanford, and he was like, "I'm gonna go to the skate park tomorrow, like noon, just like skate around." And we're like talking, we're like, could you imagine being like, I don't know, 14-year-old kid skateboarding at the park on a summer day, and like Ryan Sheckler just like shows up. Right. And he's like skate, like how cool would that be? Like just like such a cool. But I was like, that's awesome. That was so super, super, super cool.
Yeah, man. I think that skateboarding has been a really good addition. I think flag football will be a great addition.
I think flag football is going to be great.
I'm really sad for softball and baseball because, like, you know, both of those sports kind of pay for the fact that, like, outside of North America, the continent, no one else is really good at baseball and softball besides like Japan. So like it's really either the United States, Canada, or Japan that dominate both of those sports. So it's kind of
the DR does really well too.
Right. Yes. Let me not disrespect the Dominican Republic and Cuba in the Caribbean because they do bring a lot of baseball players that people know and love on their team. But like, it's just a whole thing. Speaking of, the Little League World Series is going on right now. But we're talking about the NBA schedule release. So the NBA schedule release was really, really good. Just because I don't know if you saw my retweet or but like, they used a lot of their, because obviously with basketball they do camps, so they used a lot of the children to do the thing. So like this, what the Sixers video did, right? They took like the mascots of each team, like gave it to one of their junior campers and asked them like, what does this look like to you? And then use, so essentially what they did was what the NFL teams did with the women, and randomly the man on the streets that Morgan I know loves, and just did it with kids and was like, here's the Orlando Magic mascot. What does this look like? And one kid said, it looks like a dragon that ate too many pizzas. And I was like, and that's exactly what they put. Like one kid was like, what is this? And they were like, the what is this mascot? Like it was hilarious. And then like the Clippers did like a drone video and some kids stuff. So I think like the biggest thing with the NBA schedule release that anybody, even casuals, will love is not that many back-to-backs before national games. No game the day before. No games the day before, the day after nationally televised games. Great for player safety, great for player health. Limited back-to-backs. No 8 games in 9 days. 8 games in 20 days. Great for player health. Like, it seems very fair. I think the Timberwolves got like 20 nationally televised games. A little pissed that the Knicks got more nationally televised games than the Sixers by like 1 game. But like, it was a good schedule release. Very happy. I hope the NBA does well. Obviously, the NBC is finally official. The worst kept secret in journalism is finally official. Even though I know Morgan said they still haven't.
No, we've gotten the email now. We got the email like day 1 of Paris. I'm like, okay.
So I'm really excited. The schedule release really shows that the NBA listens, and like, I think that's something that as media people we want, right? Like, we want to see the best players go at it, and it always worked against the NBA when they would put a game like, you'd have Joel Embiid versus Nikola Jokic, but before the games, both teams are playing a game before the game that everybody wants to see, and then the big players don't play because it's a back-to-back. So I'm glad that that's eliminated, and we should get a lot more interesting basketball. So NBA schedule release was the best. The NFL should take that example when they do schedule releases and get the kids involved instead of just doing.
NBA schedule release is just more. It's just so long and horrible.
Well, 25 nationally televised games for the Timberwolves. All right, so 25. My bad, RC. 25. But the other big thing in Philadelphia sports, Joel Embiid got the Medal of Valor from Cameroon. And, I'm really excited for him. That's a big, big honor for him, getting something from his native country. Now, there are rumors going around that he might play for Cameroon. I mean, he is in his 30s, so the next Olympics, he'll probably be 30.
Well, what I heard was that he would have played for Cameroon if they had qualified. That's what I heard, that they didn't qualify, so then he played for the U.S. Right. I don't know how that works. I don't know if he would have had to declare, at what point he would have had to declare which one, but that's what I heard, that he would have played. Is that true?
Yeah, so like the whole thing was like, obviously, like it was really down to USA and France, but the whole thing is obviously because of like FIBA, right? The World Cup in basketball, right? Cameroon didn't qualify because obviously I believe their 2 biggest NBA players, which are Pascal Siakam and Joel Embiid, didn't play. So obviously they couldn't as you know, based off the World Cup and everything else, like obviously they have World Cup in basketball, and based on that determines whether you qualify or not, right? So Cameroon didn't qualify because obviously Joel Embiid and Pascal Siakam don't play in the FIBA Worlds. Not many NBA players, like the big-time NBA players, play in FIBA Worlds, right? That's why you send like the Anthony Edwardses, the Jalen Brunsons. No disrespect to them, but they're not like superstars, right? There's a reason why like the Team USA men's basketball team looked different during the Olympics than it did in regionals, which was a point that Noah and Dwayne Wade pointed out because it's kind of like the slam dunk contest, right? It doesn't really matter. People care. People watch the Olympics more than they watch the FIBA World. So, like, Cameroon was never going to qualify unless Joel Embiid and Pascal Siakam played. And obviously, there's a disincentive from their teams. Like, I have no reporting on this, but I'm assuming that there's a disincentive from the Pacers and the Sixers for them to play in the FIBA World Cup because no one wants an injury during games that don't matter to qualify for the Olympics. But yes, you are correct that he would have played for them. But he played for the U.S. and he'll probably play for the U.S. again unless Cameroon qualifies, which he can play for his home country. I don't care. Whatever floats your boat. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns played for DR. We all knew DR had no chance of getting to the Olympics. So do what you want to do. But yeah, I'm happy for him. He got the Medal of Valor, and it's great to see. Like, it's great to see that because there was a TMZ report that they banned him from Yaoundé, I think, Cameroon. And then it's good to see that TMC had some bad sources and that he is actually allowed to be in Cameroon. So good for him. Happy for him. I have nothing to add. I'm happy for him. I'm happy.
Yeah,
flowers.
It's awesome.
I hope he's healthy for October. So then it seems like he was getting there, especially against just ask Serbia. So to our shout out segment. So I'm going to shout out Lori Hernandez because I mean, what a star. what a star explaining gymnastics to casuals like myself and others who just love gymnastics. And it's great to have somebody who, like, isn't really trained in what we do that can do something and explain it so well that people are like, it's good to have an analyst. Let me just say it like this. For those of you that don't know the inside of how this works, Morgan's going to understand me when I say this. It's good to have an analyst that's not a net negative. Like, it's good to have an analyst that's not a net negative and takes you out of the immersion of the broadcast. And the one thing that I can say about Lori Hernandez is she adds a lot to the broadcast and enhances the broadcast. And NBC should put her on more stuff because she has the likelihood of being like an Otto. For those of you that are track fans, an Otto in track. Like, she's just that good. Like, I think she is really that good. And Morgan knows I don't throw praises on analysts too often. So, like, she is really that dang good at what she does in gymnastics. The other one, I don't really. Oh, shout out to the Philadelphia 76ers. They did a basketball court for some kids here in Philadelphia. So shout out to them. It looks really good. Didn't do a report on it, but glad to see that. Glad to see they're making an impact in the city. And so good for them. It's always good for kids to have, as a former basketball player, to have a court to go to and hoops to play on. So good for them. So shout out to the Sixers. Shout out to Lori Hernandez. Those are my two shout outs. Morgan?
I am so mad. Mine literally just got
Did it disappear off the screen?
Yes. This is so annoying. It was this really awesome story that I found this morning on Facebook, no other place.
And before you go, and shout out to the DMV zone. Shout out to Quincy. Staying ready so he didn't have to get ready. I mean, he was a 16-year-old who ran a lot, getting ready to start school, right? Ran a lot and, still got the gold medal for running the leg, even though he didn't wind up on the team. So it was good to see that he was in use. Those of you that don't know, and I think Morgan will elucidate this more too, there were rumors that, in these track streets that they only put him on the team because, like, everyone kind of put the pressure on them to put him on the team, and that's what they did to get more eyes on track. So it was good that those rumors weren't true and that they actually let him run, because I was going to be mad if they just let the 16-year-old do what Morgan, well, obviously do what we were doing, but obviously doing a lot more work than that, but doing what we were doing, which was sitting on our behinds and watching it. Like, I'm glad that he got to do it and he got a gold medal out of it. So shout out to him.
All right, I can't find this story. 1 second. Woman says. All right, well, I can summarize it. A woman and her son were out to dinner in South Carolina in Charlotte, or North Carolina in Charlotte, and there's a little boy, and he said, Mom, there's a lady over there with a medal on her neck, and it looks like it's from Paris. I can see the ruffled edges. Like, can we go say something? The mom's like, okay, sure. And she goes over, and the lady was like so nice, and it was one of the basketball, the 3-on-3 basketball gold medalist for U.S. I'm trying to find her name because I don't want to mispronounce it.
Is it De'Erica? Was it De'Erica?
No, her name started with a C. Ciara.
Okay.
Ciara Berndick. And apparently Ciara was extraordinarily nice, took her medal off of her neck, put it onto the little boy, let the little boy take some pictures with it, which is just like absolutely adorable. And they took a picture of it, and apparently as soon as they got home, the little kid started researching pictures and posts of Ciara, and was showing his mom highlights. And so the mom was reaching out on Facebook. Oh, I found it. Yes. Okay. I found it. Okay. I'm going to just read you the story. It's really sweet. It's very quick. So tonight, out of absolutely nowhere, Hutch ends up wearing an Olympic medal from Paris. I'm sitting with Hutch and Hobby in a fantastic pizzeria in downtown. It's close to where we dropped Parker off for soccer practice, so we found a spot to kill some time and eat dinner. Totally random. Hutch says to me, Mom, turn around. Mom, there's a woman over there with an Olympic medal. I know Hutch in his game, so I don't turn around. He says, Mom, look, the medal looks like it's from Paris. It has wavy edges. It's waves around the edges. And that gets me. Hutch and I watched the Olympics every night together, and it looks like the medals. Lo and behold, we approach the athlete. Her name is Ciara Berndick. She's from Charlotte, competed in the Paris, now back home, and won a bronze medal in the 3x3 basketball. She's having pizza in Pineville, and even better, she's kind. She smiles, doesn't mind us approaching, doesn't act like she's bothered, and bends down to Hutch's level and asks him if he wants to wear her medal. He's speechless, and he can only nod. She then puts it around his neck the way they do on TV, on the stand, when an athlete bends down and someone drapes it over his head. Also awesome, at least for Hutch, is that his older sister missed the whole thing. So show was a moment just for him, which you can see is shared with Hobby. So cool all around. Ciara Berndick, thank you. Hutch is Googling you right now and showing me highlight videos of you playing that are posted on YouTube. You have made a fan for life in my son and for me. Thanks for being a true champion.
Oh, shout out to Ciara.
Isn't that, I'm like tearing up. Like, that's just so sweet. And, you know, sometimes you hear stories that don't end like that. And I'm not saying every athlete has to do that every single time they see a fan. But it's just really sweet. And especially, I think, surrounding the Olympics, it's just a wonderful time to bring everybody together. And yeah, so that was my shout out segment. So shout out to Ciara. What an incredible thing you did for that family, and something they will remember probably for the rest of their lives.
Amen. All right. Well, to our favorite sis.
Woo-hoo!
She's not him, she's not her, and they aren't them. So after a few weeks, I'm going to let Morgan go first here, unless she wants me to go first.
No, I got it. So I have my he's not him. It's kind of a he's not him and a they aren't them. So actually, I'll split them up. So my he's not him. Lo and behold, we haven't even gotten back to football season, and Aaron Rodgers is already pissing me off.
I wondered if it was going to be like a delayed Pat McAfee from the Imani thing.
No, I mean, they all could be under that. My she's not her actually has to do with that. But just like stepping back on the toes of saying he wish he'd said the immunized thing differently. Dude, you knew what you were doing. I think it's good that you recognize that you made a mistake, but like you knew what you were doing, right? Like you knew, and you knew, and you pissed me off. So my she's not her is Riley. What's her last name? Gaines. Riley Gaines.
She's not related to Riley. On side note on this one before you get to it, she's not related to Riley in any way, is she?
I don't think so. No, she's the swimmer.
Right. But I'm just the game.
Oh, I don't believe so. She, has been posting. She's been a big proponent for women in sports, and specifically non-trans athletes in sports. And that's not what she's not hurrying. She's not hurrying about. Mine is about the Imani situation, where it's been just proven that all of this is wrong. Just proven. Imani is now suing people And Riley just cannot stop talking about it, cannot stop running her mouth. And I don't think she's big enough for Imani to sue. And I think that probably kind of to some extent makes her mad because she's been talking about it the same amount that Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling have been. But, if you were to just come out and say, I was wrong on this one, or just stop talking about it, I wouldn't be saying this. But, she is, and she makes me mad. And I understand that she thinks she's trying to be a proponent for women in sports, but then she should have backed up and supported this biological woman in sports who is getting ridiculed and ripped apart on the internet. And he's not him, or they aren't them. Man, I just don't understand. And I will tell you, people will buy anything because Will Levis unveils his mayonnaise-inspired fragrance that is being sold for $8 and is now sold out online.
Hey man, Titans fans are.
And I guess good for him, but it's not even they aren't them for him for trying to sell it. It's they aren't them for the people buying this. I guess I'm kind of intrigued. What does it smell like? But let me just tell you. For any man, if you tried to walk up to me and you smelled like mayonnaise, I would throw up on you. So I just can't. So those are my he's not him, she's not her, they aren't them. We got an old classic in there, and we'll be back.
Well, this is going to be a first because I think I only have 2, so I have less. I have less than you. It's usually the other way around. So my he's not him. First and foremost, y'all know this is going to be. So Morgan had all the sports related ones. I think I only have one sports related one. But this guy, I have to say he's not him. Did you hear about this story? It's Judge Kenneth King. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, so there's this judge in Detroit, who there were kids on a field trip. I think we've all had a field trip or something, whether that be for college, for high school. Everybody's going to a court, I think, at least for something once. It probably was school related, more than likely. So these kids are on a trip. It's summer, obviously. And this teenage girl is sleeping in the man's courtroom. I guess he's going. We all know how judges are, right? They go on and on. They bore you to death. I've been in courtrooms, I've been active, but that's because, obviously, my other half of my degree is in criminology, so I'm more interested in this stuff than the average person. But being at a courtroom when there's nothing going on is pretty boring. As somebody who's been there for journalism stuff and other things, it's boring when there's not something going on. So, unless you're really interested in what a judge is saying, so unless you're a law student or a journalist, you probably aren't interested in going to court for anything if you're a lay person. So anyway, this little girl's sleeping. I don't call it a little girl. This teenage girl sleeping, probably 13, 14 years old in his courtroom. This judge, Morgan, have you heard this story?
No.
So this judge wakes up, he's got a mic, so he yells at her, right? He has his bailiff, who I guess is there, put her in jail clothes. But that's not the worst of this story, right? He yells at her, he eviscerates her. He didn't, right? If that wasn't embarrassing enough for her, he then has her I think this is a camp, so her campmates, her peers, vote whether he should send her to jail or not for the crime of sleeping in a courtroom, right? Which, for those of you that don't know, you couldn't tell by my sarcasm, is not a crime, right? So that's not even the worst of it. They do an interview. Obviously, this makes the local Detroit news. The nonprofit that brought these kids in said he traumatized the girl. He said he was just doing the fatherly thing, doing his version of Scared. His exact quote was he was doing his version of Scared Straight. Now, Morgan, that's not even the worst of it. For those of you that are like Morgan and you're interested in this story, it gets worse, right? So the little girl, I keep saying the little girl, the teenage girl's mother comes out. And you want to know what makes the story even worse, Morgan, and audience out there? Let me tell you. You wanted to know what's more of an ingredient on this crap sandwich right here? The mother comes out and says that, that their situation isn't great right now. So the reason the little girl was sleeping is because her family has had to bounce around because they don't have a permanent living situation. So those that don't understand the educated quotes there, they're homeless. Like, right? So they're homeless. They're bouncing around from shelter to shelter. So the girl isn't getting the proper sleep. So finally in a comfortable place, judge is probably boring her, goes to sleep, does what any of us teenagers would do at 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. When you're in a boring place, you go to sleep, right? And so now the judge has been suspended. So my he's not him, the judge Kenneth King, for traumatizing a little girl that's already a little girl, a teenage girl who's going through already traumatizing situation. So Judge Kenneth King, for being the absolute worst stereotype of a judge, you are my he's not him, because we already know we all have to say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am to these judges. If y'all have ever done jury duty, if those of you who are old enough to do jury duty and you've ever gotten to the selection process, as I have, Morgan, have you gotten to the selection process?
Dan's been selected twice, but turned away twice.
Yeah, I've been selected and turned away once, but that's because you and I have the job that'll always get us turned away, which
that's
is
true.
So like, you know, it's a thing, right? So he's not him, the Judge Kenneth King, and he's been, those of you that want a happy ending to the story, he has been suspended. And I don't know if you're in Michigan and that enrages you. I don't know if he's going to be on the ballot in November, but if he is, y'all might want to do something about that. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't want a jerk like that in my representing my city. Just saying. So if he is votable, I would do something about that in November. Just saying. But that's not an endorsement. That's not an endorsement. Just gotta cover ourselves there. And then my other one, if that wasn't worse enough, my other one is I gotta give it to, again, my they aren't them / he's not him, to my Philadelphia Eagles, just because every day that you still have Howard Eskin on your sideline is a walking lawsuit waiting to happen, because this is a man that forcibly kissed a woman in the Philly stadium. He's banned from the Phillies, from covering the Phillies at all, or being anywhere within Citizens Bank Park. He's banned from being in the Sixers stadium in Wells Fargo Center, which will be named something else soon. But like, you know, you have all that and you still have him on the sidelines, and you're going with the stupid PR statement of, you know, we're waiting for more women to come out. You know, there's more women, right? Everybody who's watched a basic Law and Order episode or just has ever dealt with something like this, you know there's more women, but you guys are stupidly waiting for more women. And I don't know. I'm not a female, right? So Morgan, maybe you're better to handle this than me. But if I'm a female worker for the Eagles and I'm on the sidelines and this man is on the sidelines, I don't think I want anything to do with him. So
I think that unfortunately within the NFL there are so many men like that are still, you know, which isn't fair to women. But yeah, I mean, that one's a weird situation where like it seemingly kind of came out of nowhere. So like that one probably would make me a little bit weirder than like a Deshaun Watson or something, because like at least you know, I'm not giving Deshaun Watson a massage. So you know, I don't know.
Right. So like there's that. So that's my he's not him, and that's my they aren't them. So my advice to the Eagles, right, is get that man off the sidelines post haste. Let him come. Like, he lives to be an Eagles sideline reporter. Let him do it via satellite. Like he doesn't have to be there to do his job. He does sideline reporting for the radio affiliate. Like, he doesn't need to be there. Like, I am sure that there are people like me or Morgan who totally are unproblematic who would do it for and would bring a lot less drama. So get somebody else there. Take that man, let him go to rehab and do whatever he needs to do. But like, protect your women. Protect your female employees, and you know, don't have a walking lawsuit on your sidelines. Just saying.
Yeah.
So that's my he's not him and my they aren't them. My he's not hims and my they aren't thems.
I love it.
So yeah, so hey, so that's our show. We did it in about 2 hours, a little bit. So Morgan's back. We will be back probably on a Thursday or a Friday now, because she has her loads and loads of weddings. Her fall. It's not even fall yet, but her rest of summer and autumn of weddings. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. But yeah, so thank you all for joining us. Thanks, Morgan. Like Morgan's back for the foreseeable future.
I'm here.
Unless they put her on some other thing. So they're
You never know. You never know. But yes, I'm here for now.
You know, this is great to have her back. Thank you all for listening. Shouts out to RC and everybody else. Definitely make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this. Follow us on our socials. Share it. Friends don't let friends. Cousins don't let cousins. Brothers don't let brothers. Sisters don't let sisters. Mothers don't let mothers miss out on this great podcast. Morgan, you got anything else to add before we get on out of here?
Nope, but just a shout out to my mom. Birthday yesterday.
Oh yes, shouts out. Did you?
Yeah.
You got my text right? Did you?
I did. I told her you said happy birthday. All right, guys. We love ya. We'll see you next week.
See y'all.